Hi, this is part 2 of my Q&A, and in this video we're gonna focus more on me and my inspirations, how I got started and stuff like that. So let's see where these questions take me. I guess I'll start with the quick and easy ones. Is this your full-time job or do you do something else? If so, what do you do? Did you have to go to college for it? This is not my full-time job. I actually don't make any money at all from making music right now. And I'm not sure how specific I want to be about my regular job, but I work with kids. Let's just say that. And yes, I studied for 3.5 years at the university. And Brian asks, do you have a SoundCloud? And yes, I do. I don't use my SoundCloud account as much as I probably should, but right now I'm focused on YouTube and I tend to forget about everything else. I'll leave the link down in the description. How did you get started in music? When did you start making music? What inspired you to get into music? So, I guess we're gonna start from the beginning then. I have pretty strong memories of me sitting in the backseat of my family's car with headphones, listening to a Walkman, and listening to one song, rewinding, listening again, rewinding, and listening again. And I remember it felt like I always discovered something new in the song every time I listened to it. Maybe everyone feels like that, but I don't know. Then a few years later, people were starting to arrange discos everywhere. On the kids' birthday parties and even in school and stuff. And I was always this annoying kid coming with my own CDs and asking people to play them on these discos. The other kids didn't care that much about what song was playing, but I did. I grew up and I still live in Sweden, and around here we had this really big Euro techno disco thing going on early 90s. And when I think about it, I guess it was in one of those songs I actually heard people rapping for the first time. Rapping. Going all around, would you never stop? Shake it up, shake it down. Moving all around, moving all around. Do you want me? I guess I got pretty obsessed with that rapping thing pretty quickly. Somebody started talking about rap in another way. And I can't remember who it was, but someone showed me a record with Ice Cube and I was hooked instantly. So I started listening to Ice Cube, I found Ice-T, I found Cypress Hill, and I found out my grandma had cable over at her apartment, so I found Yo MTV Raps. That was a game changer for me. I spent a lot of time over at my grandma's house and I recorded Yo MTV Raps on VHS. Brought them home and I couldn't stop watching it. And a few years went by and I had a teacher in school who noticed my massive interest in this type of music. As soon as I had the possibility in school to write an essay about something I liked, it was about hip-hop in some way. Tupac, Biggie, stuff like that. And one day this teacher of mine asked me and my friend if we wanted to visit a studio and try to record a track. We actually ended up recording a cover of Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. The next step after that was to make our own music, and we tried to figure out how to make music without being able to play any traditional instruments. And that wasn't easy back then, to say the least. A friend of mine had an older brother with a supercomputer that could run the software Fast Tracker 2. In that software you can actually produce music, but I guess I was a little too young to fully understand how to do it. The years went by and my dad actually bought a computer to our house. I found out about a software called Magic's Music Maker. That software actually had a multi-track graphical interface where you could put different sounds on different channels and you can combine things into a loop. So my first beats were made in Magic's Music Maker. Then I tried every music making software I could find. I played around quite a bit with Rebirth from Propellerheads and then switched over to Reason when that came out. My high school program was aimed towards music production, so I discovered Cubase and stuff like that. At school they even had a Korg MS-2000. I remember taking it home over the weekends to borrow it. I never really understood it, but I thought it made fantastic sounds back then. And during all this process of trying to make beats on the computer, I always wanted to rap first. And we all rapped in Swedish back then, by the way, trying to become famous and whatnot. Well, back to the Q&A. When did I start making music? I think I answered that one. How has your vinyl collection grown so big? Where do you buy your records? Well, I'm not a record enthusiast that way. I don't buy any expensive records, and I don't go out looking for rare presses and stuff like that. I don't think I have that many records, but I've built this collection up over time. I buy them at secondhand shops and flea markets. I tend to buy a lot of soul and jazz records, but sometimes I grab whatever. If the cover's cool and it feels nice, I can pick it up anyway. Another question. Talk about Move Cut Clone, next release and live shows. Well, when I decided to not rap anymore and just focus on beats, I was always looking for rappers to cooperate with, because I didn't think I could release my beats as they are. So I did some collaborations here and there, but in the long run I felt pretty much alone with my beats. So I decided to reach out to some other beat makers that I know lived in Sweden. It only took a couple of weeks, and then we were 4 or 5 guys from the beginning, sitting on a forum, talking to each other about beats, inspirations, workflows, and Move Cut Clone was created. Next up, we decided to add some visual artists in the crew, and we decided to start releasing our music together. So we dropped Sampler Science Volume 1, later on Sampler Science Volume 2. These ones can be found online and ordered through movecutclone.com or Bandcamp. You can also find the music on Spotify. And we've also done shows together, and right now we're working on Sampler Science Volume 3, so keep an eye open. I think Move Cut Clone is a really good initiative for every one of us. I've actually become good friends with some of the members in the crew, and a lot of us work full-time, plus we have a family and we make beats, so we're all in this on the same terms. We're constantly moving forward slowly, but there's no goal with Move Cut Clone. We're not aiming for something specific. We're just trying to help each other out and make the crew stronger. Next question. Where did you get the name Accurate from? Well, actually my friend Ferm came up with the name Accurate for me. Sometimes when I do stuff like editing a beat or working on a mix or something, I want it to be a specific way and I want it to be really accurate. And I guess that's one of the things that made him came up with this name for me. And I really liked the sound of it, so I took it and ran with it. Now, next up, I got some questions about what my influences are and what I get inspired from. So, I guess I've always been in love with the New York boom bap type of sound. I still think The Moment of Truth by Gangstar is one of the best albums ever, not to mention NASA's Illmatic. As a kid, I listened a lot to Jaadu the Damager, with all the DJ Premier beats on that album. I've always been a huge fan of the Dilated Peoples, and I had a couple of years when I listened a lot to Timbaland. So I guess producers like Premier, Pete Rock, Alchemist, Static Selecta, DJ Babu, Q-Tip, DJ Shadow, that kind of stuff. But I also need to mention J Dilla, of course, The Roots, Madlib, Rissa, MF Doom. There are a bunch of names. Well, that's pretty much the end of this video. In the next Q&A, I'm gonna answer all the questions that has to do with gear and my workflow. So stick around for that one. Bye.